Hello, hello. In today's lesson, we are going to introduce division of fractions. And as always, we start step by step. We're going to first divide fraction by a whole number. Bleh. Whole number. Then we're going to divide fraction by a fraction. And eventually we're going to divide mixed numbers and build up our skills like this. Mixed number by another mixed number. So that's how we're going to approach this operation. And again, while we're building the tool set for dividing fractions, eventually we will apply all of the tools to solving word problems. So we start always with a math story, simple word problem. Two boys shared 1/3 of pizza. My friends, they didn't have a whole pizza. They had 1 out of 3 equal parts, right? This is your 1/3. What happens when you split 1/3 equally between two people? Well, this what happens. You get smaller pieces of a third. Exactly what? You get a half of a third, which if you look at the relative to the entire pizza, it's actually 1 out of 6 of a pizza, 1/6 of a pizza. So we can say in language of mathematics that 2 divide by 2 will give us a smaller piece, which is 1/6. Now, there are many examples here that we can go through, including the number line, but let's take a look at this one with a little area model. Divide 1/3 into 2 equal parts. Well, take a look at what we have. We have 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, right? The entire shape. This entire rectangle shape was split into 3 equal parts. So this is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for each. Now, what happened to each third? It was divided into 2 equal parts. It was split into 2 equal parts. Take a look, right? So what we have is we have a half of a third and another half of a third. But if you take a look at it relative to the original, each of these smaller sections is actually 1/6 of the entire piece. So what we're doing when we are dividing 1/3 into 2 equal parts, we are actually finding a half of it, right? To divide by 2 means to find a half. And of course, we end up with 1 out of 6. My friends, quick sideline. To divide, let's say, what is 100 divided by 2? Of course, it's 50. However, what is a half of 100? We know half of 100 is 50. Let's take a look at another example. What is 75 divided into 3 equal parts? We know it's 25. What is 1/3 of 75? It's 25. What you will begin to realize, I hope you're beginning to realize it, and we've been demonstrating it through the language, that to divide by 2 is the same to find half of that quantity. To divide by 3 is the same as to find 1/3 of that quantity. Right? To find 1/3 is the same as to divide by 2. To divide by 2 is the same as to find a half. So these are, what I tied together are same operations. You can always think of division as finding a fraction of a quantity. Let's practice this further. I'm on page 100 in your textbooks. I'm on page 100. We're going to continue doing a lot of division practice on the next page. So divide 1/4 into 5 parts. Divide, we have A and C, A, B, C, and D. And finally, in step 3, we're also going to find the value of division. So let's go step by step. To divide 1/4 into 5 equal parts, take a look. We first found the quarter, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, right? This is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4, and so on, right? We first found the quarter. Then what did we do with that quarter? We split it into 5 equal parts. divide 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 and 5 parts. But now if you take a look at this, your each individual section, like for example, this little piece, is actually 1 out of 20 parts of the whole original rectangle, right? Notice, if we look at the original shape, original rectangle, this small piece is 1 out of 20 equal parts. And this small piece is 1 out of 20, and this is 1 out of 20, and this is 1 out of 20. Hence, to divide by 5 means to find 1/5. Just like I emphasized on previous page, this is the same operation. And we know how to multiply two fractions from our previous videos. We result in 1/20. Now, divide. We're not going to make a word problem. Let's just try to divide. So to divide by 6 is the same as to find 1/6. To divide into 9 equal parts means to find 1/9 of that quantity. To divide into 5 equal parts means to find 1/5, right? It's the same. To divide by 3 means to find 1/3, right? Means to find 1/3. Let's go ahead and calculate our multiplication. I want to show you that we are actually converting division into multiplying by a fraction, which we know how to do. So 1/4 times 1/6 is actually 1 out of 24, right? When we split 1/4 into 6 equal parts, each of those smaller pieces will be 1 out of 24. 1/5 times 1/9 is 1 out of 45. When we take 1/5 and split it into 9 smaller pieces, each of those smaller pieces will be 1 out of 44 pieces. And finally, to divide by 5, 1/6 is this. It will be the same as to find 1/5, and we get 1 out of 30, and here 1 out of 30. Now, in part 3 is when we practice it quite a lot. This is when we practice it. I do want to bring your attention to something that is very important in mathematics. It's so important that it even has its own name. It's called reciprocal. It's a new mathematical term, and even though you don't get to see it in your textbooks until maybe 6th or 7th grade, I introduce this to all my students because it's not that difficult. So, for example, what we see here is that to find the reciprocal of something means to flip that number upside down, so to speak. So, let's go. Let's practice a little bit. What is the reciprocal of 2? It's 1 over 2. If we think that it's 2 ones, right? What is the reciprocal of 3? 1 over 3. What is the reciprocal of 100? Well, it is 1 divided by 100. And let's continue. What is the reciprocal of, let's say another whole number, 25? It is 1 out of 25. So what we're actually doing, if we represent a whole number like this, we are flipping, right? The numerator goes in place of the denominator, and the denominator moves up. I don't want to say it like that, even though that's kind of what happens, but I do want to emphasize one important connection between numbers and their reciprocals, or reciprocals of numbers. The two numbers are considered reciprocals of each other when their product is 1. 2 times 1/2 is 1. The two numbers are considered reciprocals of each other when their product is 1. 3 times 1/3 is 1. I'm writing something else, is 1. 100 times 1 out of 100 is 1. 25 times 1 out of 25 is 1. But it doesn't stop here. We can find reciprocals of fractions. For example, let me delete this image. We can find reciprocals of fractions. 1/2, let's say 1/4, 1 out of 100, let's say 2/3. What is a reciprocal of 1/2? Well, we flip the number, right? We kind of like put the 2 in the numerator and 1 goes in the denominator. What is the reciprocal of 1/4? It's just 4 ones. What is the reciprocal of 1 out of 100? It's just 100 ones. What is the reciprocal of 2/3? It's 3 out of 2, or 3 halves. The same rule, the same definition, of course, applies when we multiply reciprocals by each other. The product is always 1. 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1/4 times 4 is 1. 1/100 times 100 is 1. 2/3 times 3 halves, watch, 2 simplifies, 3 simplifies, and we get 1. My friends, let's practice. Now, in number 3, I would solve only A, C, E, and G, just for your practice. And let's solve just A, C, E, and G. It's a fairly simple exercise, and I think you're going to get it very quickly. What I encourage you to do at first is let's rewrite these divisions as multiplication by reciprocal. So to divide by 2 means to multiply by 1/2. To divide by 4 means to multiply by 1/4. To divide by 2, to divide by 2, it means to multiply by half. Same thing in mathematics. And logically, right, to find 2 equal parts means to find a half of the quantity. And to divide by 6 means we multiply times 1/6. And now, my friends, of course, I encourage you to solve, but I want you to notice to divide by 2 and to multiply by 1/2 is the same. To divide by 4 and multiply by 1/4 is the same. To divide by 2 is the same as to find a half. To divide by 6 is the same as to find 1/6. So 1/3 times 1/2 equals 1 out of 6. 1/7 times 1/4, 1 out of 28. 1/7 times 1/2, 1 out of 14. And here we have 1 out of 60. I hope you found this lesson useful. We are on page 100. We introduce reciprocals. Multiplying a fraction by its reciprocal always gives you the product of 1. And we can always rewrite division as multiplication by a reciprocal. Mathematically will mean the same thing.